Hello, welcome to the long form show. I moved my room around a little bit. Now I have a larger circle here and I have another chair so that when I do readings, I can invite people's guides into the room, which is fun. I wanted to incorporate that chair because it's been in our house and it's not ours, it's the landlord's. And it's the same chair that we had in 1998 when my sister was born, and I just have fond memories of that chair. It's the exact same chair. It glides so well, and it's a rocking chair. And I'm trying to have more nurturing in my life. So anyway, that's the story of the room rearrangement. The other part of the story of the room rearrangement is that George, the gnome, started knocking on a piece of furniture a week or two ago. I'm like, why are you suddenly knocking on that particular case? And he was like, I think you should move this out of here into the living room. And so we did. And then that set off a whole chain of events that made me switch around the entire room. And because gnomes are wonderful earth beings, they know intuitively, like, about feng shui, about the body, about the finances, like all of those pentacles things. And I have a feeling he knew that if we moved that one piece of furniture, it would cause this rug bump. You know how a rug gets bunched up and then you like send the bump to other parts of the house. So we've been totally rearranging our house, and I love this house. I've been kind of contemplating the idea of us leaving. We don't have any plans and it's not on the horizon, but I just feel it in my bones that we will leave. And that kind of leads me to my first topic. Today's long form show is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be half questions and then just half stuff I want to talk about that people didn't even ask me about. So the first topic is weird middle space. I made a video about this earlier today. I'm in this weird, it's not exactly a hermity space. Like, it was a little bit more hermity in the springtime. I get out plenty, but I just feel like I'm under construction. I've done intuitive readings for a long time. Like when I do the collective readings where I'll be like, I have an intuitive message for you. I've done those for a long time, and recently I haven't been wanting to do them. And I haven't been wanting to do my, is this a good view? Do we want to go a little bit lower, maybe? I don't know. I have a lot of readings scheduled ahead. I let my books schedule themselves 2 months ahead, and then I realized, I'm rapidly losing interest in doing readings. And it always is the case for me in my life. It's like a curse. As soon as I start to get good at something, I'm not interested in it anymore, which is why traditional school just wasn't a good match for me, because invariably I study something for 4 years and then I'm done with it. I'm like, cool, let's do something completely different. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be doing one-on-one readings or what my reading will look like in the next chapter. I think that there will be intuition there. My psychic that I see regularly, Joy, said that she saw an intuitive art class that I was giving, and so maybe the next chapter is more about art. I've known for a long time that I am an artist, and she reminded me, you've embraced the psychic, now maybe it's time to embrace the artist. And yeah, who knows what the next chapter will bring. But one of the things that August brought with it was just a ton of Saturn energy with it. I was talking about this too, is my health is starting to flag. It was so synchronous. Everything was brought together at the same time for me to basically just go off of caffeine, which I've been trying to do for a long time, and then go off of my ADHD meds at the same time. And I'm still in the process of that, but it seems to be necessary for where my gut health is at so that I can build my garden. Spirit was giving me an image of what building gut health is like. They were like, you can't just put fertilizers, you can't just take supplements. Like, building your gut health is like making an amazing compost. Like, it takes a while, and it has to be done so under the right conditions, which means your nervous system is not overwhelmed, overburdened. And part of that is taking stimulants, taking things that stimulate the central nervous system. Like, they make my brain feel better, they make my brain work, but they also make my body release a lot of cortisol. They make the system very acidic, and that sort of cascade effect over time causes worse and worse dysbiosis. So it's like candida overgrowth of parasitic bacteria that takes more and more space in the gut, and then you can't digest very well, you can't absorb your nutrients, your stomach acid goes down, you become more susceptible to more parasites over time as your stomach acid is less and less strong, and it is just a cascade effect that has taken like 15 years to take me down, but it has been taking me down, and I have felt so frail during this time, and I haven't talked about that very much. I feel very frail, and those who know me personally like know that it's been a really hard time for me. But I know that I'm basically in a hospital. This house is so special. It truly is angelic, and it's been a place, a real resting space. And I feel that it was synchronous for me to be here during this time, and that I'm supposed to get this important work done, where I come off of a lot of the basically stimulants that have kept me functioning, but also sort of this underlying degradation of my body's health. So now, pull all those away, tired all the time, maybe brain doesn't work, but like healing on the inside. So that's what's going on right now. And at the same time, just like questioning all of my interests and not feeling motivated towards the same things that I was motivated towards. And this happens regularly for me. I'm very good at these transformations. They're never easy, but I'm learning each time they happen to like deeply embrace them. And the first time I felt a reading, like, I don't want to do this reading. Okay, what's next? God, the first time I felt that in marketing, I did it for like another 2 or 3 years before I was willing to like pivot. And it was because I was so used to the money. I get so used to the money situation, and then I just force myself, but people can feel that my soul isn't in it. Another thing that's feeling like it's harvesting more energy than it's giving, doing the long form show. Maybe the long form show needs to take a different form. Maybe I need to do it less often, or maybe I need to find some combination of things that make it work again. But yeah, I've been noticing that, like avoiding doing it, feeling a little bit de-energized by it. So that will need to change form too. But I'm sure I'll still do long form content in whatever way that wants to take place. So yeah, it's a weird middle space, and I'm glad that I'm talking about it. Because I don't know what the hell to do. Like, mainly I think I don't know what my income's going to look like, and I don't know, like, are we going to move soon? Like, what will that look like? I keep waiting for, like, David to get a new job offer, or for me to get, like, you always think it's going to be some magical, like, oh, some lady who has a Victorian estate just, like, sees me online, and just, like, she invites me to go take care of it for 12 years, and then she passes away, and then she just wills it to, you know, like that kind of magical thing. So I keep waiting for something like that to happen, and it hasn't. But I feel like we're on the cusp of something. But in the meantime, I'm kind of in my hospital space and trying to take care of my gut health, and, you know, getting important milestones done, but don't feel like I'm getting anything that I want to get done. So anyway, I'll be in this middle space. You'll see me. We'll be here together. I'll continue to talk about it. Number 2. Inez on Earth on Instagram. Hi, I love your content. New follower on here, but longtime viewer on YouTube. Do you have any posts or advice on how to move on from feeling like you failed at something that was once your dream? I'm really struggling. So, I had to contemplate that one for a while. I think it depends on what your dream was. So, like if your dream was having a child and maybe you find that you're infertile, I would say a dream like that, you just need to transform the dream to something else, such as um, adopting or uh, nurturing in some other way, nurturing children, maybe becoming a teacher. It's not quite the same, but using the energy of the dream to um, transmute into a slightly different activity that will still fulfill the root value. There are some things that are goals of ours that are just sort of societally programmed. So I've met people who really always wanted to be a bride or always thought, it's funny, a friend was sharing yesterday, I always thought that I was going to have a partner that like deeply knows me and we grow old together. And he was saying like, I'm 47, probably not going to meet anybody who deeply knows me throughout my whole life and is my partner. And how do I move on from that view of things? I think a lot of those are more based on what society wants for us. So I think with those things, you question where they come from. Who inserted that idea that I should want to get married? Like, do I really want to get married? And if so, why? What is the feeling I'm looking to achieve? Is it some sort of companionship? Is it some sort of completion? Do I really enjoy the milestone of it all? Weddings are like one of the last religious sacraments we have. There's a book that Caroline Myss wrote. I think it's Advanced Energy Anatomy, where she talks about the Christian sacraments. So she talks about communion. I don't know any of them. I can't think of any of them, but there are 7 that she lists, and one of them is marriage, and they correspond to different chakras. But there used to be a lot of different religious rites that we had, and now marriage is like this vestige, and it's this legal designation, so it's barely religious anymore. But I think that people are, their transcendent self, their spiritual self is aching for more spiritual ceremony, more rites of passage. And if it's the rite of passage, you can create one for yourself. I've been kind of sad. I'm not going to have kids, and so I didn't get the frickin' graduation. I didn't go to college, so I didn't get that one even. I think David and I may get married in some sort of ceremony. I don't know that we would legally get married, but we've talked about it, so maybe I'll get to have that one, like, symbolically. So, what was I going to say? I've thought about creating rites of passage for myself. Like, maybe 35 is a rite of passage for me. Maybe that's like my passage into middle age. Lately I've been feeling like I'm 80 years old, but yeah, I think that we need more rites of passage, whether we look up ideas from paganism or take them from ideas of our heritage, or we just make them up. There are a lot that we can pull from in history, and I think people are really aching for those. So if it's a goal like that, I would suggest looking for the reason that you want it. I'm trying to think of other things that I deeply wanted that I did not fulfill. There's a part of me that still deeply wants to get a PhD, and I discovered that when I did The Artist's Way last year. It was my first time doing it. The Artist's Way is a book where it's like a workbook, and it has 14 weeks, and each week you fill out lots of questions, and then you take yourself on an artist's date, and it's meant to unblock your creativity. So one of the things that I discovered is that I wanted to have a PhD, and I may still want that, but I really struggle with the education system. And that's been one of those ones where I'm like, I understand my desire to get a PhD, and I just kind of honor that desire, but I'm not acting on it right now. And that one I think is very much one that feels like out of reach. Like it feels like it would take too long, or that I'm past the age that I'm allowed to go after that. Like I can't imagine having enough brain power at this time that I feel so sick and incapable. Yeah, I can't imagine being able to do that like in my body right now. And so, yeah, with that one, I kind of just hold that one. I'm like, maybe someday. So, those are a number of answers to that question. But yeah, I think I would need specifics on that one. So if you see this long form show, please do elaborate in the comments. All right, question number 3. Dawnine on Patreon appreciate your reading and insight. What do you think is going to happen with the gerrymandering of Texas and other states? Cool. I didn't do any pre-reading on this, so let's pull some cards and see what Spirit wants to say about this. I wanted to grab Prisma Visions, or Mirror Visions, but they had me grab this one, Lineages of Change. Okay, they're giving me the ladder spread, so I don't know that one off the top of my head, so I gotta look it up. I don't even know what book it's in. I think it's in the tarot book. The downside of this room setup is I can no longer reach the bookshelf from my vantage point. All right, let's show you the spread. Here's the sword. Heart of the matter, the starting point, the base or support, your chance or what will aid you, a problem that's being solved, a desire being fulfilled, new knowledge, new insights. Let's do it. The heart of the matter, the starting point, the base or support, the chance or what will aid you, a problem being solved, a desire being fulfilled, new knowledge, new insights. So again, this is the spread for the gerrymandering in Texas. The matter, the Two of Pentacles in reverse, the starting point, the Eight of Swords, what will aid you, ancestral wisdom, the root of the matter, justice. 5 is a problem being solved, the Hanged One. 6 is a desire being fulfilled, the Nine of Wands. And 7 is new knowledge, new insights, the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. So the heart of the matter, there is an imbalance. The system is unbalanced. There is lack of harmony. This is what is trying to be resolved here. I get a sense that there is serious gridlock in Texas, and there is serious not working together. This is a national problem, and this reading is saying to me that this gerrymandering thing is going to solve a problem for Texas. What they keep saying is like, it's not what it seems. It's not what it seems. And so, for those of us from the standpoint of Democrats and leftists who are like, we don't agree with the gerrymandering in Texas, or like for me, gerrymandering in any place. And so, this issue really represents, are we going to allow outright political manipulation? Uh, there's a very clear sense for me that Texas is already gerrymandered to hell, and it's not going to help them much politically to gerrymander it more. It's more resonant of the relationship between Trump and red states and his ability to like make them do what he wants to. I feel like this issue is more it's more symbolic of that. The starting point, the Eight of Wands, passion, speed, fight, activation. There's passion at the center of your connections. Your network or relationship is lit up with creative life force energy. What passion is at the center of your connections? The passion of the Republicans to just do what they want and get the Democrats out of their way. I had heard that the Democrats just said they all left the Senate, the state Senate or something. I don't know if that's true. But there is a sense of like, there is a political will here, and it will burn everything down before it's done. Spirit is saying, let it. For those of you who do not agree with the other side politically, do not put up resistance. Say, okay, do what you will. Move forward. Again, in the light of, it's not what it seems. They're saying, let them do what they want because the light of the truth will be shown through their actions. The underpinning of this is justice. I think one political party seeking self-righteous justice. In their mind, it's justice to them, but of course it's injustice to the other side. What I'm getting is like, through their myopic lens, it is justice. That's the way they see it. Spirit is saying, let them be delusional. The truth never lies. What will aid you or guide you? 5. I think this is the Hierophant in this deck. Ancestral wisdom. I think they wanted me to pull this because this deck can be quite politically inclined, and it's quite tribal, as opposed to white supremacist. Experience, ancient teacher, wisdom. When time, study, and experience are at our backs, wisdom is in our grasp. We are able to offer others what they ask for without depletion. We can tap into that brilliance which is timeless. We've seen enough to give context to what we know, and those around us may be open to our guidance. This is the image of, oh, do what you will. Just in the way that the Zen master would always say to his students, like, do what you wish. We never know what the truth is. But the wise person will always know that shortcuts never win. And so there's something about this Texas gerrymandering that's like, let them do it because it's going to show the true colors of the situation. In the same way that I talk about the Trump administration, like, being, they needed to be voted in so people could learn, kind of a thing. This feels similar to that, this Texas thing. And I think that the gerrymandering is going to go through, like, it's going to be solidified and they're going to get what they want. But it's not what it seems. A problem being solved. The Hanged One. Stuckness. Entrenchedness. Idealism. There's something that creates movement here. It's part of an unraveling. Martial law in Texas. Maybe implemented by the Texas governor, supported by Trump. Texas has always had this secession thing with it. And that energy always wants to ignite. Hasn't ignited in, 100 years, 150 years, but it wants to again. Texas has this weird independence thing. Texas will do what it wants. This gerrymandering thing is going to be part of Trump's unraveling somehow. A desire being fulfilled. The Nine of Fire. Nine of Wands. Courage, persistence, advantage, defense building, self-protection. Winning doesn't have to mean domination of another. It can mean healing, boundary setting, protecting your courage and peace. This card speaks to long struggles and the battles that can exhaust us. There is always an end in sight. It may be time to get creative with how you draw on your reserves. Again, it's the picture of do not put up any resistance. Let through. They're showing me how actually democratic Texas is. Like, it's not really a red state, it's more like California. We've always said this. It's even more like that now. And there's going to be some sort of backlash with this. They're saying you're getting exactly what you want. They're saying that to the Republicans, but they're saying it rhetorically to Democrats as well, or people who would want the Democrats to like have a fighting chance here. They're saying it rhetorically to both because on the surface it seems like the Republicans are going to get what they want, but it's actually the opposite of the situation. Any other like concrete facts about this? Texas is a trial location for something that Trump wants to implement nationwide. It's related to his ability to control the state. It's going to be announced as some sort of like autonomous thing for the state that the state can. It's like a states' rights thing, but they're trying something. It's not going to work. Very behind the scenes. The situation is very just like, do not believe anything that you see. Everything that's real about this is happening behind the scenes. It's all the surface level of it is like not. Don't pay attention to it really. New knowledge, new insights. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse. You may be in denial that change is here, is constant, is happening. Denying the cycles of change will leave you dizzy or tossing off in directions that are unnecessarily challenging. Turn and face the moment. Yeah, our country is politically in a deep state of change, and the gerrymandering in Texas is a symptom of that. The political parties are very entrenched, and these forces are trying to make the gears move. And for better or worse, like both sides are kind of trying to change those gears, trying to get out of this gridlock. The way that Republicans are trying to get out of it is they're trying to just make them get all of their way. They're like, okay, we're going to take this gear out and we're just going to be a wheel, right? That's how we're going to change this gridlock. How are Democrats trying to change that? Interesting. So in this case, the Democrats are the preserving force. They're trying to keep the gridlock in step because the direction that the state is going is not the way that Democrats want it to go, right? It's the way that Republicans want to go. So they're an opposing force that's trying to keep the gridlock in place, but it means that nobody can move forward, right? So in this case, the gridlock changing is good for Texas because it means that there will be a transformation. But this isn't the end of this conflict that we've seen. I see it going on until 2028. It's probably the next election cycle. Show me the election results for the next election cycle in Texas. Possibly a new governor. The state, there's like a state board. I don't, they're like whoever certifies the election. I see that being much more split nicely. I see somebody becoming popular in the state senate, or becoming like a little bit of a celebrity who's like a bigot. They're showing me that guy that had the cowboy hat. I don't know if he was from Texas, but he ran and he was like in the media a lot a few years ago. Can't remember his name, but like a bigot figure that's like a rancher kind of a guy that we won't really like him, but some prominence there, a lot more young candidates coming in. Seems like the results of the next election are kind of disappointing to both sides because they're very split again. But possibly a new governor. But yeah, Texas is going to begin some of this unraveling nationwide for the Trump presidency. And Texas will continue to be a very strange state. It's not like Arizona. It's not like any other red state. It's very California-ish. It's very, we do our own thing. It's very Aquarian, I would say. So it's a very strange influence there. It's not traditional red state. That's what I think will happen in Texas. All right. Number 4, I'm going to talk about the Free Store Project. So I haven't talked about this publicly because I wasn't sure if I was going to step away. But those who, I drank cranberry juice and it's kind of in my throat. Those who know me personally know that I stepped away from the Free Store Project, like active work, in June, and I haven't been back since. And I wasn't sure like what was going to go on with that. It was kind of the same thing of like, yeah, things aren't resonating anymore. I need to give more time to whatever I'm available for that feels like it's resonating. So, yeah, I stepped away in June, and it just has felt right, and I haven't been back. And there were some internal issues that were behind it. What I'm realizing in groups is that I deeply need to be able to emotionally process with the group and one-on-one with people, and I wasn't able to do that there. And it doesn't mean that the group is bad necessarily. It just means that's a group that I can't navigate. And it's like a combination of autism and just being like a deeply emotional human. I'm always this canary in the coal mine. I'm always the first one to feel difficulties, microaggressions, and I like need to call them out and process them on a group level. And not a lot of groups are able to do that. But I'm recognizing it's something that I deeply need in the groups that I create. And yeah. So I was just recognizing the inability to do that, and also recognizing that, God, Indigenous people are so much better at doing this. And people who have family lineage that is closer to Indigenous people, natives around here, even like Hispanic people, people who are in more multi-generational households, for example, they seem to have more ability to like be deeply in conflict with other people and to work those things out and talk about them. And yeah, something about white people culture, we are very just suppressing of our emotions, suppressing of our anger. We're not available for conflict. And so um, I often feel like this happens in groups, and it happened a lot in my intentional community that I helped create too. Kind of the same dynamic here. I ended up leaving because there were like these deep issues that I needed to be able to bring to the surface, and I couldn't because there was not a culture of talking about those things on a group level, and I wasn't able to establish that culture on my own. Um, so yeah, I just wasn't able to resolve these internal conflicts and sort of make space for myself emotionally in the way that I needed to. Um, and so yeah, I was like, I'm gonna step back, and I haven't stepped back in. And since I think the group has gone through a lot of changes, and it'll be interesting to see how it grows and changes and evolves over time. But that part of me who loves free culture and loves free store stuff, that's still alive and well, and I've missed having a free store to go to. I haven't been to our pop-ups the last few months just because of scheduling stuff. I didn't like purposely avoid them or anything, but yeah, I haven't been to one, and I really miss going to our pop-ups, and I wish that we would have created a full-time location. It seems like that just wasn't in alignment for our particular group, but I hope to keep trying in the future. Yeah, maybe I'll have to create something under another name. I also, I'm glad that the Free Store project wasn't like my thing too. It was just like something I was involved in, and something that I got to spread the name, spread the name around, and be kind of the social media person. Um, but I'm glad that it wasn't like my thing, because I didn't have to be the full carrier of that project, and I think it would have exhausted me if I was. And because it wasn't like my thing that I created, because I'm not a part of it, it gets to have a life of its own, which I'm really happy about. And I wish them all the best to create a free store here in Portland, because we very much need it. I think it would serve such an amazing purpose. But maybe it's an alignment for it to happen later on, and I will continue to try under different circumstances to create this. But yeah, that was kind of the chapter of the free store, and whatever I do in the future with free store stuff, I think it'll just be a different thing. Um, but yeah, I'm always thinking about ideas with that, and especially going into this like creative chapter of my life. I've talked to my friend Brooke, and she's also an artist and an intuitive, and we've talked about like, oh, what if we had our own studio for art, and like maybe that's where I'm supposed to do the classes, and maybe that's where we have our free store location, and like maybe the way that gets created as a full-time location is like it's a multi-purpose location. And that was always a bridge that the free store had a hard time crossing, is like, how do we justify having a full-time location without other ways to have income? So stay tuned on that. But yeah, I wanted to talk about it because it's like, yeah, that's not really happening for me anymore, and people have been like, why don't you talk about it anymore? And yeah, it's because I'm not involved. So that's the story on that. 5. Megan on Patreon. My intuition has been nudging me to ask a question for the long form show about histamine intolerance. So yeah, I am just learning about histamine intolerance. There's just like all these pieces I've put together that make so much sense for my autism. So autism was the first thing that I identified. People would just send me videos about autism before I even identified that I had autism. And they're like, you're autistic, right? And I was like, no. Yes, actually. And so people would kind of see it in me before I identified it. Because of, like, autism is not just a neurological thing, a thing that, like, changes your brain experience of the world and your focus and your social aspects. It also affects your connective tissues and your blood vessels and your nervous system, all these things. A lot of people have MTHFR gene mutation. Not all autistic people do. Um, and all autistic people do have methylation problems. If you go, I haven't gone deep enough down the rabbit hole, but there's the BH4 pathway. If you search BH4 pathway, you'll get all kinds of research from this one girl. I think her name's Kimberly. She has become world famous on TikTok for basically going down the chemical rabbit hole of how autism happens. And what she understands is that autism is genetically locked stress. So people get autism for a combination of factors. Some of those are genetic factors, some of them are environmental factors, immune system factors, chemical contaminants, stress. Um, all these things are levers for whether or not autism will show up in the lifespan. So, uh, how is this connected to histamine? So, there is this nervous system, immune system interaction. I think it might be mostly immune system, but it's called MCAS, MCAS. And this is an overactivity of your immune system to stimuli. I've talked to autistic people that experience this with like Wi-Fi or electric grids near them. What sets it off is different in different people, but basically your system, you're, like system wide, you're having an immune reaction to some stimuli. Sometimes it's food, but basically you as a person have an overactive immune system. This is different from autoimmune. This is just my immune system is stressed out like kind of all the time for very small reasons. When you have an immune system that is overactive like that, it creates a lot of histamine. So this will create a lot of inflammation in your body. Histamine is related to allergic reactions, but like me, you don't have to be a person that has a lot of allergies. I have no food allergies that I know of. I'm not allergic to any medications. I do have like food sensitivities because I have just like insane leaky gut, but you don't have to be an allergic type person to have MCAS. So if you have an immune system that's already like this because you have autism, I don't understand the connection of like why autistic people have more MCAS. Maybe we're kind of overwired in our neurology, and so we're just more branchy and we're more irritated by things. It's possible. You're producing histamine all the time. So there's a bottleneck there that can happen. The first thing is um, there's just overall too much histamine in the system. The second thing that can happen is your body's not clearing it fast enough, so you get clogged up in the liver. When you have too much histamine in your system, one of the things that can happen is your estrogen gets out of whack. The Goo Man on TikTok has a lot of really good videos about why most people who have autoimmune disorders are femmes, people born as women, whatever you want to say, people whose bodies naturally produce estrogen for their cycle, for their reproductive cycle. Um, Estrogen lowers your immune system and makes you more susceptible to all kinds of just like dysregulation. Histamine is one of those things. So histamine and estrogen have a vicious cycle that they do together. So your body always wants to keep estrogen and histamine, like, I don't know if they're at the same level, but they're always like to a certain ratio to each other. So guess what happens if your histamine goes up? It wants to make your estrogen go up. And then if you're producing more histamine, also there's something about estrogen causing more histamine reactions. I don't remember what that was, but they tend to like get crazy out of whack. That's why you find a lot of us are what they call estrogen dominant. So causes all kinds of issues with our monthly cycle. I'm trying to think what I had really bad when I had estrogen dominance. I wasn't sleeping well. I started to get hirsutism. It's crazy. What happened to me when I was really estrogen dominant is I actually became highly testosterone. Like I had so much testosterone. They tested me. My testosterone was 400. And it's supposed to be 200 in a healthy man. So no wonder I was getting a mustache and stuff. Still getting mustache. But anyway, um, yeah, hormones go out of whack. Another thing that can happen with histamine, you get this flushing. They call it histamine flushing, which is why she asked this question because I was talking about it on Patreon. Um, every time I would exercise as a kid, I would get a flushed face, and it would just be red, and people were like, "Are you okay?" Turns out it was histamine flushing. Another thing that would happen as a kid is they would always ask me, they would make everybody run the mile. I only ever ran it once in my school career. I would not run it. I would just take the F, whatever it was. And I found out, like, I would run for a while, and I just, like, my body wouldn't work. Like, I couldn't handle it. Like, it was too painful. And I didn't understand how other people could run. Like, my tummy hurt. Like, I would get all these cramps. And, like, I was like, this is not possible. I don't understand how other people can do it. Turns out, from watching different creators who are neurodivergent, some of them have ADHD and Ehlers-Danlos or some sort of hypermobility, there's a connection there too with asthma. It's exercise-induced asthma, and it's very common in people with connective tissue disorders. So again, no wonder I couldn't run. Nobody ever figured out that I had exercise-induced asthma. Now I have an inhaler that my doctor prescribed me. I haven't tried to use it, but I should. I should try running. That sounds scary. Anything else I know about histamine? So overall, there is a goal that we have to expand the body's ability to break down histamine. You can take a supplement that's called DAO, which is kind of a stopgap measure for getting your liver in better shape to just process your hormones. Again, having hormone imbalance long term, it's going to clog up your liver and all the other reasons that our liver gets clogged up. But one of them is this massive amount of histamine. And if you've had a whole life of your body doing this, guess what? You're way more susceptible to just like chronic illness. And my chronic illness is making so much more sense because I'm like, oh yeah, no wonder my body's just like been in like an intense state of stress because of my incredible sensitivity and all of the other factors that come with autism, just like social rejection, a lot of loneliness, a lot of just like mental health issues. So all of these factors put together kind of equal a body that's a little bit more sensitive and a little bit more susceptible because of the immune dysfunction, multiple organ dysfunction, hormone dysregulation that they can't even fucking test for a lot of the time. There's two books that someone suggested for me, and Spirit's kind of giving me a thought to show them to you. Let me grab them. Dysautonomia. I don't particularly like this book. Maybe check out a different book on dysautonomia. This one seemed like their editor was ChatGPT, so I don't know. Had plenty of information, but I don't know why. It just seemed like there was like it felt like they were anti-vaxxers or something. That's all I can say. But dysautonomia and hypermobility. It doesn't have to be Ehlers-Danlos. I am not diagnosable for Ehlers-Danlos, and everything about hypermobility totally makes sense to my experience. So I'm sure we're going to figure out more things about hypermobility. My blood pressure is always super low. Finally figured that one out. When they take my blood pressure, they're always like, why is it 99/50? And I'm just like, it's been like that my whole life. And my mom is like that too. Surprise, surprise. That is a type of hypermobility. It's the sign that my vessels are have a lot of laxity. Another thing about dysautonomia, so this is nervous system related. MCAS, I think, is in the dysautonomia umbrella, I want to say. But a lot of these are just like cofactors or co occurring disorders that you have. When my nervous system is supposed to have a certain response, it'll have the opposite response. So I've known people who their pupils are really, really tiny all the time, or they're really big when they shouldn't be, when they're not like under the influence of anything. You have people that will have one tiny pupil and one big one, signs that the nervous system is doing some weird stuff. One of the ones that my nervous system does is when I take stimulants, my blood pressure goes down. The blood pressure should go up when you take stimulants. It doesn't make sense that the blood pressure would go down. Um, your blood vessels are dilating. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, and my heart rate goes up. Like blood pressure should go up. It goes down. And that's when my POTS came back, is actually when I started taking ADHD medication. I started needing to take what is it? Electrolytes. That's what my doctor had me take. So yeah, also POTS. I got diagnosed with that when I was not POTS, but they called it orthostatic hypotension when I was in the mental hospital the first time when I was 14. So yeah, a lot of people suffer from their POTS. Like they have a lot of fainting, and some people have like cerebral spinal fluid pressure stuff. I had a friend who had that. I'm not sure why I'm connecting it to POTS. I think it's because it's like a pressure thing. But anyway, all these things go together. Have fun going down that rabbit hole. Yeah, that's been my experience. Number 6, I just wanted to talk about the gnomes a little bit. I'm going to make a separate video where the gnomes answer your questions. But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I've been on a journey with these gnomes, and if you haven't heard me talk about them, so I live in a house that's haunted, and I really didn't want to see the fact that I was being haunted. Like, I put my head in the sand. My spirit guide said it took me a lot longer to figure out I had gnomes here than they thought it would. I was basically experiencing poltergeist activity, and like things were being thrown in the middle of the floor, and not like right in front of my eyes, but just like, huh, how did that get there? And like my ability to not notice it is really extensive. Um, I'm realizing how much I was just like not paying attention to all the things that were happening to me until something started grabbing my feet. And at that point, I was just like, I can't ignore this anymore. This is scary. And I finally seeked out my psychic, and she told me what was going on. She's like, oh, there are earth elementals here. Um, and yeah, as a psychic, like it's kind of embarrassing, but if you're not used to connecting with a certain vibration of spirit, then you just don't tune into that radio channel. You don't know how to recognize it, and it's quite a bridge to go from just like the logical, regular reality, we're in this house, to spirit world reality. Yeah, it's like all the fairy tales are true. It's such a weird thing. Like, you go from everything is inanimate objects to everything is alive. Like, even the walls, even the house has a name. Like, it's very fairy tale esque. Uh, and I'll answer more about the gnomes on the separate gnomes video that I make. But yeah, the gnomes all have names, and they seem to take on the culture of whatever the culture is at the times of the times. So they don't have native names because we don't relate to native names as the prevailing culture. They chose their names or they changed them. They're saying that they changed them at this time. In the 1940s, there was like really a changing of the guard in this location from native people to white people. The white people started to colonize this particular area. It's a little bit outside Portland, so it seems like this is when that was being developed. And they changed their names at that time because a shaman was talking to them. So they tend to take on the garb of what we would expect. So my experience with these earth elementals, these are not the only earth elementals I've experienced. I've started to experience others. They don't have any idea of their physical form. Everything that we see for them, or like I would see in my intuitive mind, is more of a projection of what I think they should look like. So gnomes look like gnomes because we think that they should look like gnomes. It's just based on our past ideas of what they look like. So they can look like however they want. And I've recently started to perceive them through my solar plexus. So I was having trouble seeing them or sensing their presence. Now I'm able to. And sometimes I perceive them like up on the ceiling and stuff. And I'm just like, how would it be up on the ceiling? And I just think of like a gnome up there, like a spider. Like it's a weird thing to think about, but they do. They have no physical form. You wouldn't like see an apparition of them. They basically are just spiritual energy, but powerful spiritual energy at that. Like they can move stuff. They can't quite move furniture, but they love the bathtub, and I've been washing my hydroponic system in the bathtub, and they were like moving them all around all night, just like playing in the bathtub with those things while we were sleeping. Um, yeah, I was in the bathtub the other day, and they hate it when I'm scrolling on my phone, just like vegging out, and someone wanted to like rouse me, get me up, and they I don't know what the hell they did. I couldn't find. It sounded like a huge shelf, like this piece of furniture or something, just like fell down. And I was like, "What was that?" And I got out of the bath and I couldn't find what it was. And I swear someone just took a broomstick and just like swacked it against the wall or something. It was insane, and I never figured out what it was. Um, they all have different personalities. Like Harrison lives here in this room with me. Harrison, I don't know, you might be able to show as an orb on the camera if you'd like. Yeah, he's right here next to me because I can feel a cold spot. But he's not showing it all on the camera. But he's waving at the camera. Hi. So Harrison lives here in this room. If you didn't see one of my recent gnome videos, I figured out there are 2 gnomes living in my house. Harrison is a little quieter and a little bit more shy, but he's kind of like my little buddy. He's always here with a lot of guidance. George lives downstairs. He lives in the yarn room. We don't rent the downstairs, but he likes that room, he said, because it's large. It's larger. The main way that they like to communicate with me lately, because it's the easiest way for me to perceive, is they will knock on these. It's not like that. It's more like a flick. And it almost feels like the entire house has shifted and there's just like a little crack in the wood. It's kind of what it sounds like. And there's wood paneling all around, so it's probably really easy for them to make that crack. But they'll usually do it to get my attention. They'll do it to confirm something. So I was trying to identify some crystals earlier, and when I was on the right crystal, I heard a crack. And I was like, oh, this is quartz. And then I heard a crack. So they'll do it as confirmation. Trying to think what other stuff has been interesting that I've found out about them lately. They have really cool abilities, so they can move as easily through earth as they can through air. So they have like really magical abilities to find cool crystals and stuff. Um, they're very playful, and I think that's been such a beautiful lesson for me to know that these important earth spirits who carry out like an important function. They're here to steward the land and protect the magnetism of the ley lines around here. That someone with such responsibility, that they would be imbued with a playful spirit, that would be an important part of their stewardship, that they would do it well through having a light-hearted spirit. And anyone who's interacted much with spirituality knows that the best masters are so they laugh at themselves, and they have such a good sense of humor, and everything's a joke. Like, it's a beautiful aspect of spirituality, and they're like that, but they're like that in a childlike way. So they're very like, oops, like very, they're not wise like that, but they have a wisdom about them at the same time, a spiritual wisdom. But you kind of have to set boundaries with them like they're children, especially some of them with the more rambunctious personalities. We have one, Albert, who he likes to come over at night. He doesn't live here, but he comes over at night to like irritate us. Basically, he waits until we're watching TV, like we're relaxing in front of the TV doing something, and he'll flicker the lights, he'll wake us up at night, he'll just mess around, but it's always like in the evening time. So I don't know what happens in his day that he likes to do it around then. But last night he was doing one of the more impressive things that they do, which is he brought a scent to me from across the house, and it was a scent from one of my essential oils. I think it was sandalwood, and that sandalwood is sealed. He got the scent from sandalwood and brought it into my face while I was trying to sleep, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, I do not wish to be woken up. Thank you for bringing this, but I do not wish to experience this, basically. One of the really helpful things I've learned is that because this is our realm, energetic beings have to obey our boundaries with them. So usually what happens when they want to be bothersome is I need to set the boundary in the perfect way. So I said, I will have no more scents waking me up tonight. I no longer wish to experience this. And he kept doing it, and I was like, wait, I didn't say stop doing this scent. So he just kept doing that one. And I was like, okay, all gnomes, please exit this room. I am setting a boundary. No gnomes will wake me up for the rest of the night. And then they all left. So you just have to find the exact perfect phrase. Another example of that, I think I already shared this one, was somebody likes to pull on my necklace. I think it's George. Really likes to pull on my necklace, and I'll just feel it constantly all through the day, just like little pulling, little twisting, like messing with my necklace. And they'll do it at night, and I set boundaries of like, I no longer wish to have you grab my feet. I no longer wish to hear things slam. I no longer wish to hear noises in our ears as we're falling asleep. I know, like, all these things. I do not want to be woken up at night through these ways. Forgot to list pulling on the necklace. So the very next night, I wake up and I'm just like, somebody's been slowly pulling on my necklace to where they got it like all the way wrapped around, and they're like yanking it, and it's waking me up. So you have to be very specific with these little guys. They're very playful, but they're reminding me of the childlike spirit. And one of the main things that they always remind me of, because they're very good at working with the earth energy, is the ability to nurture, the ability to, it's always my issue with things. I'm very good at planting seeds. I'm very good at the wood energy, if you know Chinese medicine. Very good at the wood energy, planting seeds, starting things, starting projects, excitement, creativity. Not so good at carrying them through, especially nurturing towards the harvest. So I can't tell you how many plants I started this year. Hundreds. Gave them away. I have harvested one cucumber. My corn looks pretty good, but it may not fully become corn. And the gnomes have told me, you don't plan and you don't consistently follow through with nurturing and caring for things. One of the other things that I don't do is I don't imbue my plants with love. I have a very autistic data entry approach to starting, like, to doing my plants. So I'm a gardener, but I'm just like very regimented. I'm not interacting with the world as if it's alive, as if it's imbued with life and needs love. Meanwhile, my partner David, Earth Mother, he is so good at the earth energy. I watch him and he just nurtures and he is so loving to his plants and he names them all. And he goes, "Oh, Richard, you look so good." And he like touches his little new growth and like he loves them every single day and he takes care of them and he enjoys the process. Me, I'm just like, this thing isn't growing, like, and I don't imbue it with love. It's so funny. It's like it's an inanimate object. So I'm getting better at that. And they're like the gnomes show me so much stuff around the garden. Like I was pruning roses earlier and they're like, no, a little bit lower. No, don't do it right there. They do it with a lot of things around the garden space. And also, like, I've started working with crystals more. I'm realizing it's more in my life path to work with crystals and work with the earth. So I'm learning more about crystals and intuitively, I seem to know which ones to use for purification or for different like things that I want to use them for, and they'll advise me on those, and I kind of get those answers psychically. But yeah, a lot of gnome information, but I'll talk more on the one where I answer your gnome questions. So the gnomes are staying by. Um, and the last question, question 7. At BKR921 on YouTube, I would love to hear more about how you're learning to talk to trees. So I'm reading this book. I'll tell you the name. It's interesting. I've interacted with, I'm realizing most of the literature on this stuff. Like, there are very few nonfiction books on nature spirits. So it's called Nature Spirits and Elemental Beings Working with the Intelligence in Nature by, let's see if I can get you the name of the author. By Marco Pogacnik. Last name is Pogacnik. I'll try to put a link to it in the video description. But he mentions another practitioner that I already read the book of, and I'm like, yeah, these books are like, there's not too many books on this stuff. Like, these people all know each other. They're in the same little cohort. But I'll show you the book about the other book I read. Behaving as if the God in all life mattered by Michelle Small Wright. They're saying I should open this up and read again about her instructions for how to manifest because it was really good. But yeah, this book, I put it down. I was a little more than halfway through. And it's funny how the things that are supposed to come to you just come to you, and you get what you need eventually. That's part of me ending up in this house, is they wanted me to have this experience with earth elementals and to study more about this stuff. But anyway, so in the book that I'm reading about nature spirits, I just wanted to learn about the elementals, where they are, how to communicate with more of them, more ideas about what stuff is going on out there. A lot of this mythology comes from Ireland and Scotland. This man, I think, is English. Maybe I'm wrong, but he spends a lot of time in that area. These nature spirits are worldwide. The only reason that we have mythology from this area is because it's just been particularly preserved there. There's more of a cultural tradition of writing this stuff down and bringing it forward. So we potentially could have this kind of mythology for everywhere in the world, just like wasn't written down. The cultural tradition wasn't preserved. So we're working with the terminology and the nomenclature from Scotland and Ireland, like the UK. But these things are everywhere. Gnomes are everywhere. Fairies are everywhere. Earth elementals are everywhere. And they tend to take on the system of whatever the culture thinks that they are. So if we think that gnomes look like gnomes, then they'll be like, "Hi, I'm a gnome because that's what you call me." They just work with whatever we think. So onto the trees. So part of this book is saying that there are earth elementals imbued in most things. One of the things that this book said that he's sort of integrating is the devas of the garden. So you have spirits that are in charge of each type of thing. So you have the deva of the cabbage, the deva of the and then there's like devas of the times of growth. So that like the deva of the seedling, I think there was like all kinds of stuff. It's been a little while since I've read that, but anyway, the book I'm reading now says that there is an earth elemental inside all trees that are big enough to have them. So larger, well-developed trees, maybe like a 5-year-old tree, will have an elemental in it, and he calls the elemental a faun, Faun. And he says this is energetically separate or distinct from the livingness of the tree. So you can communicate with trees just in general by feeling how they're doing. I can do this with any plant. I touched a rose bush earlier, and I was just noticing that these leaves were all twisty, and I was like, this rose bush has a virus. So there's like information that you can get just from like feeling something. Yesterday when I was like going around feeling different things, trying to communicate with them, I could feel the aliveness of them. I could kind of feel their heat, and I could feel them breathe. But I wanted to add an extra layer, which is to communicate with the faun of the tree. So it's a distinct spirit, elemental spirit, that wraps itself like an umbilical cord into the tree. So it is fundamentally connected to that tree. Spiritual practitioners can help a faun move from tree to tree, he was saying in the book. But I'm realizing I need to make a TikTok video about this. One faun per tree. And he thinks that they have the vibration of like a young man. I wasn't getting that from the apple tree that I was communicating with. But anyway, we have a birch tree that I tried with. Couldn't get through to the birch tree, but we do have 2 apple trees here. One of them in particular I've been taking care of because it's not doing very well. I've been pruning it. So I wanted to communicate with that tree, and I wasn't getting anything. And so it has a sister tree right next to it that's kind of holding it up. They're twisted around each other, and the other tree is much healthier. And so I tried with that tree. What he said to do is to attune your vibration to unconditional love. So to feel intense love in order to create a bridge between you and the tree. And I was able to get communication from that tree and like sentences. And the tree was just telling me like, yeah, the faun is in there, but you won't have communication with it because it goes dormant during the day because it's just really overburdened. It's been really hot. I got the communication from that tree that the root system is really impacted for the tree. It's like running into something, maybe the foundation of the house. It got taken over on one side by blackberries, and the branches are just like too spread out, and I got a lot of good information. Also, it's just a different type of apple tree, and it just may not be thriving as well here. And so the more healthy apple tree was just like kind of giving me information on this. So yeah, I did not perceive it like, oh, this is the faun of the tree. But because I was able to get sentences, and it's very different than just feeling like, oh, I feel that this has a virus, or I feel that this tree is not doing well. It was like actual communication. So that's how I'm starting to learn to speak to trees. And this book has all kinds of like, here's how to talk to water spirits, here's where to find them, here's how to identify them, and it seems like you just expand and expand and expand. So he's like, oh yeah, in 1993 I wasn't prepared to talk to the water spirits yet, but now I've gained this new skill. So he has a lot of different skills and teaches workshops. um, but yeah, this is a pretty niche area of spirituality, that someone gave me the audacity last year. They said, oh, interesting, you're a grid worker. They pulled that through during an intuitive session. So now I'm like, okay, I'm a grid worker. I'm supposed to work with the ley lines of the earth. I'm supposed to learn about this stuff. I get the sense that I'm more of a rock person, more of an earth worker, elemental worker than a tree worker or someone who's gardening. Not as much of that. I'm more of a crystals person. So it makes sense why there's gnomes in my house, because these guys are earth workers. They are here to do crystal grid work, basically. But yeah, they've been helping me a lot with my finances, and my life is very magical during this time. So yeah, it's been such a weird period. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. And it's nice doing the long form show. I feel like I can update y'all on everything that's going on with me. And yeah, we'll see how things take form in the future. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone's support, and thanks for watching.